Well, we'll get started. And if you have anything else you'd like to chat about, we love it. Doing business with the government is not easy, and that's why we're here. Love the fact that you're here. Hot seat questions for today. Here they are, folks. This is for Peter, for Sally, and Rafa. Brian is in the Netherlands. Another la-di-da. He doesn't have time for us here. So told me he's on a cruise. So we're gonna let him do his little mini cruise things. But Brian's a former contracting officer. I'll introduce everybody in just a minute. So why is it so hard to get traction? How can you tell who buys what you sell, and what's the best contract vehicle for what you sell? And this is great for everybody. We will also talk about the bonuses of how Sam Radar can help. If you have no idea what Sam Radar is, welcome to the party, because now you're going to learn a little bit. Participation is easy. We love it. Don't we, Peter Timbus? We love Peter. We love it.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid. If you're brand new and you've never done anything like this before, you're among friends. We share links and docs. Let me see if I have this. I'll get the docs for today's session in just a minute. And if you have any questions, raise your hand, pop it in the Q&A. We love it, and we don't mind unmuting or answering any questions that you got. Quick disclaimer for industry, this is not, this is for audience participation only. Information participation does not guarantee an award. If you're a Govy, we love Govies, don't we, Rafa?
That's right.
We love them. So yeah, if you want to participate as a as a Govy, you are not obligated to buy from anybody here. Today we're going to connect you with some experts. They are here. We'll be discussing what works, and we'll be highlighting sponsors like the one that's up there, samradar.com. If you don't know what it is, we'll tell you. All right, so let's get to know each other a little bit. Let's see what we got. Where's my polls? There they are. There they are. Here we go. How long you been in business? Brand spanking new, 1 to 2 years, 20 plus years. We usually have folks in the middle and all over. And if you ever been to one of these sessions before, we love it. If you've been here and you haven't, I know Jay's been here. I know several other folks have been here. So not yet is the most. I love it. Very good. And while we're doing that, in the session handouts, I'm going to grab this from my very competent assistant. Hold on. If I can get, what did I do? Get this down, get that out. All right, here we go. Hold on a second, guys. I'm operating on my mobile. So yeah, we were not expecting to be here. We were expecting to be at least close to back home. And here we go. Let me grab this for everybody. Grab this. Oh, stop. And pop it into the chat. Let me know if this actually works for you guys. Can you check to make sure that
Yep, it's in, Dave.
All right, fantastic. Very good. So I'm going to resume my share, get rid of that, and back on to the presentation at hand. There we go. All right, fantastic. So we do have some handouts. Rafa's got some special news. I'm going to let him do that in just a minute. So with one word, anybody got one more word for doing business with the government? I'm going to check. A lot of folks have a little bit of challenges with that. If you have one word, that's why we're here. Difficulties, right? Challenges. It's huge. A lot of folks tell us when we're talking to people. Anybody else? Let's see. Daunting, terrifying. Absolutely. Those are all big words that make it very difficult. And we have with us today, we have the doctor, the colonel, the Kentucky Fried Cuban, as I like to say. But he's my good friend, Rafa, from South Florida. Say hey to everybody, Rafa.
Hey, everybody.
Smarty pants. So you got some big news. You got a couple of big news things. You're up for an award, number one.
Yep.
And then you got something coming out on Amazon or something, I heard.
Well, there's a couple of things very exciting. Number one, we've got our book, our new ebook on procurement readiness, which everyone on this event today, Dave, will have a free complimentary copy. So you need to sign up for this and you will get one gratis, free, no charge. If you're part of GovBrief, if you're part of the monthly webinars with Dave Lowe's group, you get a free copy, my friends. And it was well written. It's a brief guide on procurement readiness and how to get ready to do business with the world's largest supply chain, which is the federal government. Okay. So we have that. The other announcement is that today, yesterday, we're celebrating because we were selected as the public relations agency of record for none other than the book that's coming out this summer, summer 2024. It's called The Final Flight, The Queen of Air. It's based on a real life crime story of law enforcement here in the United States and counter narco terrorism programs, drug interdiction programs. And guess what? One of my clients is actually, two of my client firm, they're actually subject matter experts and consultants to the FAA. This book is going to help put them on the map as world subject matter experts, right? Which is going to help them charge more, command more of a premium for their workshops that they facilitate. So way to position your thought leadership by becoming a subject matter expert under the guise of our public relations services. And we're representing them and we're launching that. And we announced this yesterday. So very, very happy about that, Dave.
That's awesome, man. I had no idea. I was chasing the eclipse. Congratulations, my man.
Thank you. Thank you.
Awesome. And so you know who Rafa is, former supply chain, dealing with all kinds of procurement for major corporations, done a lot of business with the federal government as well, helps with capability statements and briefings and business cards. He's the best. That's why he's here. And if your folks from your marketing team say this,
if you get the deer in the headlights look, right? If you get the deer in the headlights look, whenever you ask for your marketing experts, if you want a capability statement and you get the deer in the headlights look, you're talking to the wrong crowd.
That's
you should be working with us, right? We've got you.
It operates different. And a lot of folks are saying that today, right? So the whole idea is, it's cumbersome, it's difficult, it's different. Operating in the government is different, and he can help with different things, capability statements, capabilities, business cards. I love when you do that, Rafa. So if you don't have a capability statement, or if your capability statement is not doing his job, probably more likely, check out Rafa. He'll review it for you for free, right?
That's right. We do a free review, no strings attached, no obligation.
Fantastic.
And Rafa, I've just been sharing mine. Hi, everybody. I've just been sharing my capability statement that Rafa did for me with a lot of the government contractors and people here at Sierra Space, and they love it. I mean, it is so beautiful. Thank you
so much. Thank you,
Hi,
Sally. Can you share it with the group too as a leave behind so they can see the quality of the work and the service that you provide on your page?
I'm sort of like in the middle of trying to walk in the middle of this thing. So, but feel free to go ahead and do it. You have it. You created it. Feel free to share it.
Good point.
Yeah. Share it away.
So, and Martha says we'll send you an email to Raphael. So fantastic, Martha. Yeah, you met the right guy. So Sally she's an Uber connector, shocking as that would be, as she is tooling her way into, where are you at? You're in DC at the Gaylord.
Yeah, the Gaylord at the Sea Air Space Conference. There's 19,000 plus people here, federal contractors, people with NavSair, NavSea, NavAir, NavFac, all of the different naval swim lanes, etc., and a lot of government contractors, primes. There's generals everywhere, 3 stars, 4 stars, admirals. I mean, it's just it's such an honor to be here. And I actually joined, so I'm not a military person, but I joined, so I'm a Navy League member. And I really encourage you, whatever group you're serving, whether it's the Department of Homeland Security, the Navy, DOD, you can join as a member, $20, $30, and then you walk around as a membership, and membership has its privileges. So I love being here. It's great to see all of you, but I'm going to make my way down so I can get a really good seat to at Secretary Del Toro's luncheon.
Well, that is great. Fantastic. Yeah, go. And I know Sally, she hates this word, but she is one. She's like me. So if she's there, I guarantee you she's going to meet him because she's a stalker like I am.
No, I know him. I'll send you a selfie of him.
There you go.
And Peter has a selfie too. I'll send you a selfie right now of he and I, and Peter and him. I introduced him to Peter too.
That's fantastic.
He's a chief schmoozing officer.
Yeah, she is a chief schmoozing officer. That is for sure. That is for sure. All right, Peter Timbus helps folks get funding. What I love about Peter, if you know anything about your bank, the bank doesn't know anything about the government, and they just don't. Their heads explode. If you have a $10 million contract, right, Peter, and you're $1 million firm, the bank's going to choke right?
Correct.
But you don't show because you lend to the opportunity. What does that mean to lend to the opportunity?
Well, before I tell them about lending to the opportunity, I want to congratulate my good friend Raphael for the good news and his willingness to share his ebook with everybody, complimentary ebook today, which is fantastic, Raphael. They
Thank
need
you,
to
sir.
get it, they need to read it, and they need to follow up with you because you are the best in this industry as far as getting them ready and to be proactive to go into the federal government space. So congratulations, my friend.
Thank you so much for your kind words.
We've been doing this for 34 years. The difference, I think, is our philosophy is that we're going to lend to the opportunity rather than your financial statements. So whether you're a brand new company, I noticed that half the people here are existing federal government contractors. And one of the reasons that they can't grow to the level that they'd like to be is because they can't get access to capital. So whether you're a new company or an existing company, we're going to lend to that opportunity and give you access to capital. I'll just give you a simple example. We have a current client, $1 million business. She was with a bank in the DC area, $150,000 line of credit. They wouldn't increase her line because we gave her a letter of financial support saying to the government, should you win the contracts, that we'll be there to financially support her. 2 were federal government contracts, 2 were state of Maryland, and 2 were state of Illinois. We supplied financial support letters to all 5 of those entities, and she won all 5. So
You won all 5.
She won all 5.
Fantastic.
Now instead she's invoicing 83,000 a month. This is all going to take her to 650,000 of invoicing a month. So she's going to go from $1 million company to a $7 to $8 million company, and she wouldn't have been able to do that without our access to capital, lending to the opportunity, giving a letter of financial support. So we bring a lot of value to our client base as far as promoting them to grow and to acquire business. But they've got to be proactive. They've got to be proactive, and they got to find out where the opportunities are. And that's where Sam Radar comes in, so they can identify those opportunities in their NAICS codes.
I appreciate it, man. And we'll talk a little bit about that. That's what I love about Peter. He knows his business, been around for a long time, and that's why he's here. Brian Hebel, as I mentioned, is in the Netherlands. He sent me a picture of tulips on my phone. So there you go. So he's not going to be joining us today, but he has many, many years of insider business work in the federal government as a contracting officer for 34 years with CMS. And so we wish him the best. And he'll be back shortly, but and he pops in on the Monday roundtables too. So we'll talk a little bit about today. For me, I will be talking today about the sam.gov tutorial. You can find that on govbrief.us. I do that every second Tuesday right after this. It works out very nicely. Oftentimes, the Dr. Colonel winds up joining me. You're welcome to join me again too if you can, Rafa. It's up to
Absolutely.
You.
Always.
So I focus on the marketing side and the data side, and there's a question in the chat specifically, I think, for me, from Ross, saying he receives a lot of solicitations, talking about what's on the horizon or over the horizon on Intel requirements that'll be released in 30, 60, 90, or 120 days, RFPs, RFQ, whatever, and you, as one of their subscribers, have access to this non-public info. So these so-called databases are drawing from the same underlying data. You're right. You're right. It's drawing from the same underlying data, and there has to be a difference. And I'm going to show you the difference that we're talking about with Sam Radar, because it is a database and it looks at things, but it looks at it differently, and it is truly proprietary. And the info that we have is proprietary because we're running algorithms, nobody else is. And we look at stuff that's good. So we'll talk a lot. We'll give you a chance to be able to take a look at that as well. And we appreciate your asking the question. So an example of an alternative SAM database is Deltek's products. Correct. Deltec is on the top side, right? They go out after a lot of the big folks, and we'll talk about apples to apples comparison because it isn't apples and apples for that. So I appreciate the question, Ross. It's leading me right into where we go. Because my world, we talk specifically when we're talking about not doing AI, it's because people buy from people. And we want to reach federal marketing. With using federal marketing, we want to reach decision makers. And that's the 132,000 program managers, 70,000 plus active procurement folks. That's what we do with GovBrief. Raphael mentioned it. Being a subject matter expert makes a difference, doesn't it, Raphael?
Absolutely.
It increases your value in your prospect's eyes and gives you a benefit that you just can't get any other way. Wouldn't you agree with that?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're the subject matter expert, people will listen, right?
Yep. And that's what GovBrief is made for. In fact, we're doing it for industry. Today, I'm doing it sam.gov tutorial. If you want that, I think we got 40 or 50 people signed up for that one. So that's good. We also have a whole bunch of other folks. You can check them out on govbrief.us. Rafael Marrero is talking about sources sought, right, Rafa?
Absolutely. Very important, Dave.
Yeah. And one of the things that we do is we push this towards the government. So if you talk about needing to reach government decision makers and stakeholders, especially on the program side, no list of program managers, to your point, Ross. Nobody's out there with a list of program managers. We have the list, but we don't know what they do. So we push it out and we pull them in. And last time we did this, we had 120 people come in for hearing about the deaf community using direct video calling. So, and then we have other pieces that we do. You can see Rafa on the bottom here on April 16th, right, Rafa? That one we scheduled that one. So you have the opportunity to get in on that, by the way.
Next week, next Tuesday.
Yep. Today we have sam.gov tutorial. Tomorrow, Jason Moy is going to be joining me talking about bid and award protests. And let me tell you something. That is a process that you should know about, because if you win one, it could be bid or you could have a protest against you. Or if you lost one, you might want to protest against the winner. And that has become a business practice. So that's a good place to be. The other part we have is Sam Radar, game changer. We'll talk about that a little bit because the spending fuse is lit. What do I mean by that is now we have to spend $1.2 trillion by when? Who wants to tell me? By when?
September 30th.
September 30th, because they have to do it. They have to spend every dime. And the hot seat questions, why is it so hard to get federal traction? And how can you tell who buys what you sell? And what is the best contract vehicle for what you sell? So hot seat question number one, I'm going to go out and I'm going to ask Peter first. Peter, why is it so hard to get traction in the federal space? And I know you come to it from the money side, but you know a lot more than just the money side. So why is it so hard to get traction?
Well, you've got to be organized, and you've got to know a system on market intel to identify opportunities that you want to go after. And you probably have to break those down by agencies. And then I'm taking a little bit of your thunder. If you want to try to identify who in the marketplace is giving out the most contracts in your NAICS. So I think the biggest thing is to be proactive and to have the great market intel to know how to identify the product. But in addition to that, you got to be prepared. And that's where the good doctor comes in to make you prepared. You got to look the part. So even if you have the market intel and you go after this, but you don't look the part, you're just spinning your wheels. So you've got to look the part. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be prepared. You got to be proactive, and you got to have the right market intel.
And because the market doesn't look the same, right? So everybody, when I got into the federal market in 2007, I was in telecom. And I thought, and I had been in telecom for many years, up to about 2002. And I was like, I'm going to see everybody that I used to know. I didn't know anybody. Nobody. That was so different. And that's what a big challenge is, right, Rafa? Is that is that it's a different market. We want to approach it. Sometimes we want to approach it like it's business to business, but it's not, is it?
No, it's not.
So
Totally
now
different, Dave. Totally
give
different.
give us an overview of what you wrote in your book. What it makes it so hard to get traction?
Well, think of it this way, Dave. I looked at it like it's a whole new set of rules of engagement, right? You're selling to an institutional supply chain. There are requirements. There is parlance. There's terminology. I mean, if anyone has ever looked at anything related to government, you'll see like alphabet soup, right? Bunch of acronyms, bunch of rules, a bunch of new laws that you need to get your head around. So what the book is all about is about the tips, useful tips, real world advice on what works to help you get launched properly and make a lasting first impression on a potential decision maker in the federal supply chain. That's what the book is all about. Small chapters, handy advice based on real world expertise, not fluff. Okay,
Gotcha.
because it's written in layman's terms. It's not written to impress anyone or carry a dictionary under your arm.
Yeah.
It's so that people will understand it, right? And
So-
based on
so tell
feedback
us-
from you.
So
Mhm.
tell us, why do you think it's so hard to get traction?
Well, it's hard to get traction because people come with a different mindset, Dave. You remember, it's like I compare it to coming to a new country, right?
Ooh.
Think of the United States government as this whole new country that you've just come to, right? There's a different language that you need to learn, which is governese, right? Which is government lingo, right? So it's not Spanish, it's not English, it's not Yiddish. It's government lingo, right? It's a different terminology altogether. The other thing is there's different rules, right? So how do you get from point A to point B, Dave? Well, the government has its own rules for getting registered, right? To becoming registered as a resident of that new jurisdiction that you've just come across, right? You've got to get your company registered, properly registered, and possibly even certified. And then once you're there, that's the license to hunt. You got to go out and hunt, right? There's different ways that the government does conducts business. It's incumbent upon you to find out the rules of engagement and to find out the right verbiage you need to use in order to engage with key procurement decision makers.
And
And-
you mentioned something interesting because you have, first of all, registration at sam.gov. What does that get you?
Well, it gets you the admission fee, right? I mean, that's the ticket to go in the door. It's a license to hunt, just like certifications are, right? It just means that you are a pre-qualified vendor on a database. That's it, right?
That's it. For
That's it.
sam.gov, and then you get a GSA contract or vehicle. We'll talk about
Right.
vehicles in a minute.
Right?
But vehicles are how they buy, right? Because they can buy from you. You don't even have to have a sam.gov registration for them to
yeah.
buy from you if you're using credit cards. But most of us aren't just doing it on credit cards, right? So,
Yeah.
so sam.gov is required, and that's part of nobody's calling you off of sam.gov.
No,
Nobody's going to pick up the phone.
but if you're properly registered in SAM and DSBS, Dave, your chances of being contacted are far exponentially higher or considered.
Yeah.
Because what they're going to do is they're going to do their sniff test when they send out. It's like you're casting out a wide net, right? When you're fishing, right? And then they see what they can get back, right? Back to the boat and see what you've got there, right? And you're going to find that you're going to have some shoes and empty cans and things like that. But amongst that, you're going to find some good shrimp, just like Bubba Gump and shrimp. You're going to find some good shrimp that you can build upon to make yourself a cocktail. So what they're doing is they're actually looking for sources of companies that are prepared to engage with the federal government, that have the right stuff, that are registered, that have a good, strong capabilities narrative, that have verifiable past performance, Dave. That's very important.
Yeah.
You don't want to oversell your capabilities because just like they can get you hired, they can get you fired in the
That's
real
a
world,
fact.
right?
So that's another part of why it's so hard, right? You mentioned past performance.
Yep.
They're requiring 5 years of past performance in this particular thing. And then how do you get the past performance? You can't get the past performance without winning a contract. How do you win a contract without? You can't, right? So there's a delicate balance, right, of being able to manage those. And they're starting to make some changes for that, for some of your subcontracting to apply potentially, but not always.
Right.
And here's a great one, which U.S. government does its best to level the playing field. Theoretically, Ross, they do. But the reality is it's being played by people that understand, you call them beltway bandits, right? But they understand what it takes to do it. And everybody else is running from the outside saying, hey, I want to play, but it doesn't look like it should. It doesn't act like it should. There's regulations. You mentioned the regulations, right? And then your certifications. And folks that come to me and they're like, I got my GSA contract. I don't have any sales. I just did this last week. Right? So we talked about that. And it's like, why? Because everybody thought that was the work to get the GSA contract. That's not work. The work is pushing it. The work is marketing it. The work is getting as Peter said, get out in front of it, right? And that's the question.
In terms of past performance, especially for the benefit for a lot of the newbies, is when you're doing your market intel, you find out, you probably want to find out who are the primes that have won business in your area. Did you want to go out to them to try to get a contract with them and build your performance through the subcontracting method?
That's right.
That's what you really want to do. And you got to identify who has won those contracts. So that's a different level of being proactive.
That's right. And Dave, if I may, just to respond to Ross and others, right? This is why it's important, right? It's important to understand the difference between a level playing field, okay, which means we all start at this level here, and how you execute upon that is contingent upon you. That's clearly, right? That's clearly the case. When I was a vendor, when I was a chief procurement officer and worked for a very, very large construction outfit that looked for subcontractors, right? Vendor management and subcontractor management is the heart and soul of what I've done for several decades. So I will tell you this, whenever someone came to me and pitched me on the fact that they were 8A, veteran-owned, women-owned, that didn't mean anything to me. I wanted to know if you can deliver the goods, right? Do you have the right stuff? Are you able to deliver on time, on budget, and in construction safely, because you have a good safety, a quality and safety program? If your OSHA records are clean from interstate, accidents and things like that, if there's any flags, because the moment that I contract you as a subcontractor, you're my liability, right? You're a blemish on my record. So I want to make sure that you've got the right goods. No one here is forced to hire any subcontractor just on the basis of their ethnicity, prior military record, et cetera, et cetera. There are small business programs intended to help raise participation in the small business community, of which I'm a big defender, by the way, right? I've been doing this for 35 years. But you don't get a contract on the basis alone of being a minority, a veteran, a woman, or being in a hub zone. If you're going about it that way, you're pitching it the wrong way, and you're really, really going to be rubbing people the wrong way, because your way of convincing them is like, hey, look, I can mitigate your risk. I can help you achieve your mission objectives. I can help you deliver on time, on budget, right? And safely. And I can help you by doing X, Y, and Z. Boom, 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 boom. Here's my past performance citations. They clearly map to your scope of work. We like an opportunity to become a subcontractor to earn our keep and earn our stripes under your radar, okay? That's what we're asking for. 90% of small businesses are going to start out that way because they don't have the maturities model to engage as a prime, okay? That's a fact of life. It's a fact of economics, and it's a fact of business reality. So, that's very important.
To add, Raphael, to add on to that, I've been to many conferences and listened to contracting officers, and they don't want to know how good you are. How can you provide us with the best possible solution and solve my problem?
Yeah. That's it. Solve the problem. And Gene is saying, what if I don't have the past performance data specific to the federal government? That's the big deal, Gene, right? And is it okay to put general performance? The answer is you put whatever performance is relevant to that particular requirement, right? If they're asking for something, you're going to give them, and you're going to explain to them how that works. But you're probably going to need to sub first, like Rafa said, because they're risk averse. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. But there's a question I want to go back to what Ross said earlier. and that is, if we're going to disrupt the status quo, right? The status quo is the incumbents are winning. Your Beltway bandits, the people that understand the industry, understand the federal government. We want to disrupt the status quo. So what does that mean? That means I just want to know, now this is the difference. I'm going to give a key differentiator for you, Ross, because do you get paid? Number one, do you get paid for doing federal research? Do you get paid for doing all the background, or do you get paid when you sell something? Because if you get paid when you sell something, I'm going to give you two things that you can do. You want to review your email, and you want to click and ask the buyer for a meeting or a referral. The meeting with them directly, say, hey, I want to chat with you about this because I just did something very similar. I just did something, or I'm working on something that's very similar to what you just awarded. In fact, we're going to be looking at awards and not opportunities. What? That's right. We're going to look at awards. Why? Because 98% don't hit the street. And in the handouts that you have, you're going to see a report that shows exactly that. Because 98% don't hit the street, you've got to figure a way to get to the other ones. You can go compete for the less than 2%. Okay to bid. Okay to watch the source of thought, right, Rafa? You want to watch for the source of thought. That's before the opportunity hits the street. But most of the time, you're never gonna know. And if you don't know, you got to have a plan to find out what that is. In this report that I have, there's two reports, one for last fiscal year, and it looks like this. No competition. What is that? 76%. Do the math. You see it. The percentage of the contracts, these are contract actions that the government has. 76% had either one offer received or it wasn't reported. And if it wasn't reported, that means one. And I don't get that from myself. I get it from Brian and all the people that I know in the market. Look at this. The short list, 5 or fewer, 91%. This better reframe your brain, because if you're looking at stuff on sam.gov, the chances are, number one, it's already wired. They already know who they want. Somebody else has their fingerprints on it, because it's our job as industry to get our fingerprints all over that and start to influence the scope of work. This is why we do what we do. 1.34% of last year hit sam.gov. 140,000, give or take, right? 140,000 opportunities hit the street in 2023. But there was 10.4 million contract awards. This is why you have to look at it differently. And if you don't, you're going to miss it. You can disagree with me. You can say, oh, it doesn't work that way. And I'm here to tell you it does. And if the OSDBU or the small business liaison says, or the contracting officer, first thing they're going to say, I put everything on sam.gov. No, you don't. But I don't tell them that. I say, okay, great. Well, let's talk about the next one you're going to put on sam.gov, because we know, and now you know, that 98% don't hit the street. And all we want to do one thing: open up an email, click, contact the buyer, ask for a meeting with the buyer, or ask for a referral to the prime. The prime is right there. Peter said it. The prime, you want to be touching the prime too. Raphael said it. You want to be touching the prime. Why? Because they already have the work. And you can start to develop your relationships and past performance. That's critical to you, right, Rafa?
Mm-hmm.
So how can you tell who buys what you sell? We already know a little bit of that. Rafa, how do you find out? I know this is kind of a selfish setup. It's like but so let's just talk about the importance of finding who buys what you sell. Specifically the competitors, or finding the competitors that overlap with you. And you can do that. You mentioned NAICS codes, right, earlier?
Yeah, NAICS and PSC codes, and that can help you map out the competitive landscape, right? Who's buying what you sell? Yeah.
Yeah, PSCs being product service codes, right? NAICS being your NAICS codes. Most people know what NAICS codes are, but some people are new here. So explain what a NAICS code is and what it's supposed to do.
Sure. So it's a 6-digit code assigned by the Census Bureau. And it describes what your organization does for a living, or at least should describe, because in some cases your knucklehead CPA gives you the wrong one, right? And you're a circus and not a construction company, right? Because you're misclassified. It typically appears on the upper left-hand quadrant of your 1120 or on page 2 of your 1040, whatever form you're filing. So it describes the economic activity. For example, the 2-3 prefix is tied to construction. The 5-4 prefix is tied to professional services. And just as a case in point, 237-130, which is heavy construction, civil construction, right? That happens to be one of the main NAICS codes that many of our clients are engaged in because they're in construction, right? So that 237-130, if I want to see who's buying what I'm selling, and that's my primary NAICS code, I need to look into that specific from looking at the SAM data available through Dave, right? And then the other thing is I can look at PSCs, because think of PSCs as sort of like a parent and child relationship. The parent being the NAICS code and the PSC as a subset of that, right? So if you really want to get down and dirty and hone in on what your competitors are selling, look at their PSC codes, because most likely they're tied, and there's several PSCs to one NAICS code, just so you know. So if you really want to get specific and granular, which is important when you have very few resources, you need to follow the trail of the PSCs.
I'm going to show you something in just a minute. I'm opening it up. In the handouts that I gave you, by the way, let me put that back in for those that came late. Let me see.
Mm-hmm.
So you can grab those handouts. Those are the session docs.
Nice.
And normally I'm a lot easier about this, but now I got this freaking laptop that I'm trying to get.
Well, you've been eclipsed, Dave. You're on the road. You've been eclipsed.
All right, I'm going to open the spending report. This is year to date. So I'm going to open this up. I'm going to show you exactly what Rafa did. And this is free to you. It's actually in the handouts. You can get it. Come on. Let's go. It's opening up. I'm using an old laptop too, so that's not open. We've got to go on. Let's see here. All right, so in this, you're going to see this. Now, you're going to screw these bottom tabs, exactly what Rafa said. First of all, this is year to date. So here we go with what we got, 78% won. And these are by now, right now we're tracking at 3.1% hitting SAM.gov. That's going to drop like a brick by the time you get through the second half of this year. But what we're talking about, can everybody see this, by the way? Can you see it, Rafa?
I can see it.
All right, so this bottom tab, this is your NAICS codes. That's exactly what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. And then you have your PSC codes. And if you take a look, you can see by NAICS code what the largest NAICS codes are, right? Mm-hmm. And then you can also check this out, guys. This is really, really cool, is that you can see the vendor wins, but I want to jump over this one and go to the detailed, which is, what did you say the vendor, what's construction, heavy construction again?
237-130.
237-130. So if you type in this, you will find all the competitors in your NAICS code and their corresponding PSCs that they're using. This is important.
Very important.
These are your competitors that you'll be able to then identify and then go back and do your tracking and stalk your competitors that are overlapping with you. This is one of the best things that you can do as a company, is to be able to find your competition and then watch what they do. Now, we just happen to have a system that does exactly that. You take this UEI, you pop it into SAM Radar, and it watches for you. So every day that they get an award, you know about it.
That's right.
You don't have to do any of the research because it does it for you. And it says yesterday, one of your competitors won an award that never hit SAM.gov. So what's your action item? Click, contact the buyer. Hey, I noticed that I'd love to chat with you about what you just awarded to Pick Electric, right there. Pick Electric. Why? Because it was awarded in your NAICS code and your PSCs. Did that work right? 237-130. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Cool.
Yeah, that's power and communications line and related structures. That's a lot of our clients that are in heavy construction are doing infrastructure work, Dave, for 5G and 6G. They're building out the infrastructure for the major telcos.
And if you're wondering if there's dollars, this is dollars so far won by each one of these at that combination. You can take this, if you want to go back and see the total wins by Pick Electric, copy that, go back to vendors, and say, boom, hey, I'd like to see, come on now, pinwheel me. Here we go. And now we can see exactly how much that vendor has won. I say that.
Beautiful. That's beautiful, Dave. You know how much time you're saving people by doing that?
Exactly. That's exactly why we do it. And when we do this, Rob Lundholm, where are we? Search. Let's go. I'm going to show you how much money these guys have made so far. Pick Electric has won total of $9 million this year. This year so far. So the objective, again, as Raphael has said, is find out who's buying in your space. And that's what Peter said. Find out who's buying in your space and then go out after them. Now, the question is the who. Who is it? Well, you can do a crap ton of research. I'll show you how to do it at 1 o'clock. You can come to the 1 o'clock session. And we also do FPDS. SAM.gov FPDS. That's 100% of the market, 100% of the reported market. There's still some nuances out there with P cards and other things and other ways that the government buys. Other transaction authorities, OTAs. There's a lot of ways that they can buy. The question is, what is the best way for you? And I just want to make sure you know this we just gave it to you, gave you that as a resource. So while we're talking about this, I want to talk about who the stakeholders are, and I'm going to get to the question in just a second. We have senior people at the top, politicals, top people that are appointed by the President of the United States. Literally appointed by the president. Then you have the senior executive service, the top level bureaucrats that take care of the agency. They usually don't change. Every once in a while they get bumped up to being a political appointee. But then when you're a political appointee, somebody new comes in, you're out. We've seen it happen both times, right? Doesn't matter. Red, blue, they come in, doesn't matter. They're going out, right? So here's what Rafa was talking about. Program managers care about getting the job done. They care about, hey, how do I make sure that my job gets done right? Because you want to get the job done right. Procurement care about getting the contract done. Two vastly different decision-making trees. If you pitch the program manager on the fact that you're a service-disabled hub zone with this socioeconomic category, this, that, or the other, and you have a GSA contract and you have a BPA to do this, that, and the other, that's like wah, 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 Charlie Brown. They don't care about that. Now, on the other hand, if you're pitching procurement on how great of a fiber optic cable you're running and all the bits and bytes and all the rest of the stuff and the super Wizmo equipment that you got in order to do this stuff, you're not going to believe it, Rafa. I got everything. I got bucket trucks. I got diggers. I got trenchers. I got directional boring equipment that'll blow your mind. I can go 600 feet and they can pull it right up. They don't care about that. They just care about getting that contract done and getting it done quick. So your job has got to be able to resonate with both of those, which is why your capability statement is so important and why your approach is so important, because the contracting people don't develop a thing. The program people throw it over the fence. And that's why in the handouts, you also have the winnable opportunity matrix. The program manager, project manager throws it over the fence contracting. That's where an opportunity comes from. Those are your two primaries. Most of us are going to be in this lane. Smaller contracts, when I say smaller, $2 million and smaller, $10 million and smaller, generally going to be in this lane. Generally going to be these two people. You might need some extra help from administrators, the technical representative, the TR, the core, technical representative, COTAR, that's another word. They're responsible once that contract is engaged to help you manage it. So that's where that goes. I'm not going to take a look at that right now. We'll get to hot seat question number 3 in just a minute. Are you saying that all federal contracts don't get put on SAM.gov or all federal contracts or all government contracts? Preston, I am unequivocally saying no, they do not. Not only that, most don't, to the tune of 98%. Probably didn't know that before you came here, did you, Preston? And there's the proof. The proof is coming right from FPDS. FPDS is the other government system. That's where they say where the awards are. How do you register for the SAM.gov tutorial? www.govbrief.us. Boom. That's how you do it. Amelia? You can register for that. All right. Any other questions before I jump on this? Before we jump on to this next thing, because I want to make sure we get you out of here in time. Actually, going to do it on time, Ralph, believe it or not. So when I say contract, what is the best contract vehicle? What does that mean? What is a contract vehicle, first of all? Rafa?
Well, a contracting vehicle is a way to transact business on a repeated basis, right? Think of it as a master services agreement or a product or services agreement. It's an open contract and it takes on different forms. So a contracting vehicle is just that. It's a way that the buyer or the government client has established to buy from you in a repeat business kind of model, right? Repeat model.
It could be repeat, or it could just say, I just want to buy this desk just once.
Right. Just once. Yeah. Yeah.
Or I want to buy this.
Open-ended. Yeah. It's open-ended and it's not typically the quantities are not specified.
Well, that's an IDIQ.
Right.
If you have a firm fixed price where you say, I'm going to build this mile-long piece of cable, I'm going to pay $10 million to go from here to here. Once you spend that $10 million, that's a contract vehicle, firm fixed price, that's done. That's one type, right? But you mentioned an IDIQ or a blanket purchase agreement, right? Where you can get one award that they can buy over and over and over again. Oh, by the way, 12% of everything you see in that report I just showed you are IDIQs or indefinite delivery vehicles, blanket purchase agreements. They're beautiful things. And they can be used for products and they can be used for services. They can be used for multiple things. The biggest thing I think that Rafa just said is, hey, you can do it over and over again. It's not just once. You win once and nobody else has to see it. It won't show up except after you already got that win and you have already contracted with them for the task order or the BPA call. That's a beautiful thing. That's my fave. That's what I'm always after. If we can get in there, we can build a relationship, prove to them that you can do it. That's all you need. Proof. And make it easy for them. So much easier for them to use a BPA or an IDIQ. So much easier. They don't have to go out to bid. They can go out to, maybe it's a multiple award, right? Maybe it's five folks that have 5 different companies that qualify. Say, this is our menu of services. We're just going to compete it between these 5. We're seeing that big time. We're seeing it big time in strategic sourcing and Big Mac. You're going to hear those terms where GSA is putting out this big contract. Big Mac, best in class is what that's called. And then everybody else has to fight to be a sub, which is why it's so important, like Peter said, to know who the prime is and start building relationships with the prime. It helps you with your past performance. It also helps you win. Because primes have the same problem too, right, Rafa?
Absolutely.
They got the same problem. They're looking for resources too. And guess what? Nobody has a plethora of resources right now. Nobody. Right? So any other comments on what the best contract vehicle is for what you sell? That's not really your lane, Peter, although you do help by being able to prove that they deserve to get it, right? Getting one of those contract vehicles is not easy necessarily, right?
Right.
You need a relationship. You need to prove to them that you can survive, right?
Historically speaking, most of my fastest growing companies have contract vehicles. They're on GWACs. And it's a way, especially I have a lot of clients.
Government.
IT,
hey, I'll say, Peter. GWAC, government-wide acquisition contract. Go ahead. Sorry. For those of you who acronym soup, you have landed in it.
Yeah, I have a lot of IT companies and, we take them from 5 million of revenue to 50, 60, 70 in 2 or 3 years with lending to the opportunity, financial support letters. They just explode with our services on these contract vehicles.
Love it. So Ross has a question. Is the sole U.S. government buying criteria LPTA, least price technically acceptable? The answer used to be yes, they were mandated to do it. Now they're not. You know why, Ross? Because it didn't work. And they wound up spending more money because cheapest price does not mean better or least expensive, does it, Rafa? Ever.
That's right. Cheaper doesn't mean
Why
more.
do you, how do we know? Because you're not driving Yugos. That's why. Yugos was the cheapest price. Technically acceptable. No more Yugos.
Oh boy.
And some of you people don't even know what I just said.
Ladas, Soviet Ladas, or Moscovich, or the Yugoslavian Yugos.
That's right.
Horrible cars. Horrible
Terrible
cars.
cars. But they have
Yeah.
4 wheels and they got you there sometimes.
Yeah.
So here's what in the handouts one more time. PM throws it over the fence to contracting officer. That's how you create an opportunity. Both of these are people, ladies and gentlemen. It's not coming from the ether. It's not just popping up on sam.gov. Somebody says they need it, right? 2-minute challenge. Check your email. Do you check your email every day, Rafa?
I do.
Yeah.
I
Why?
better.
You better. Right? You better. And that's why this system is built. Sam Radar is built to send it to you by email. Click one button, ask for a meeting or ask for a referral. You can pick either option you want. Click the button, talk to it, say, hey, I'd love to chat with you about this, or who's the PM at the prime? Think about this. If you're trying to reach a large prime, what are the chances you're going to be able to find that person? But you know, the buyer knows exactly who that program manager is or project manager is in Lockheed Martin, in Raytheon, in Deloitte. That's who knows. Go right to the source. And then you have a referral from the people that are cutting them a check. It's not hard, but you got to do it. And you got to do it every day. So what we want to do, when we get into this process, reach out, get to the PM. And then when you're talking to the PM and say, well, my stuff doesn't really fit in that contract, but I can do this over here. Would that be beneficial to you? I can help you solve this problem, Mr. Program Manager. I can help you solve this problem, Miss Project Manager.
Mm-hmm.
And then they create the opportunity, throw it over the fence to the contracting officer for you. And now you have an award. And the objective is to get to these people, to get them to award it to you. Can be done. Ask for the meeting, ask for the referral. Maybe you can ask for both, but definitely ask for one of them. And I have a rule. If you don't ask, you don't get. If you don't pick up the phone, they ain't calling you. Nobody's calling you. You got to go do it. And that's how you get injected here. With 87% of the contracts and 91% of the dollars going to one of 5. Across the board. We know that 12% of that is IDIQs and BPAs. We also know the rest of it is coming from people like you and me that are reaching out and building relationships. This is exactly why we do it. And oh, by the way, continual support, Monday roundtables, networking. We had, this is a month and a half ago now, $28 million deal between 2 Sam Radar users. One of them had the vehicle, one of them had the ability to deliver. They got together and they sent $28 million worth of vehicles to the Ukraine. They met on the Monday roundtables. Federal fundamentals, if you have questions, anything like that, we don't just, hey, here's a tool, Ross. It's not here's a tool, go have fun. No, here's a tool, do this, 2 minutes a day, do this, and then come to the Monday roundtables and tell people what happened. Tell us what happened. So you can check that out on samradar.com. It's not 202 days. I didn't adjust that. If you want to be in, it's like 30 days less than that. All right, so I'm going to ask you this question, and we'll get you guys out of here in just a minute. Oh, my gosh, I didn't end that poll. Holy cow. That's because I'm not even operating on. Go ahead. Sorry.
Someone want to know how to sign up for your 1 o'clock session.
The answer is govbrief.us.
Okay.
Hang on one second. Let me ask this question really. Do you want a piece of the 98%? That's fine. If you don't want to compete the other way, that's fine. We want to make sure we get you out in front of them. It's time to get moving. And I'm telling you, they have to spend every dime by September 30th, right, Rafa?
That's right. Every single time.
Every single time. Rafa, help make you look good. We got to get him out of here, Rafa. Reach out to Rafa for state capability statements. He will help you out. And you also do video capabilities, right, Rafa?
Video capabilities, anything that touches the internet to project your brand, we do to project your brand as a capable contractor, able to deliver on the scope of work that the contracting officers are looking for.
Love it. You can reach out to Sally. Sally's running around hobnobbing with all the brass, literally, admirals and generals. But you can reach out to Sally. Highly encourage you if you need some additional support, right? Right, Peter? Does a great job in supporting you when you go to events, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Does a great job. And reach out to Peter. He's the only one that was smart enough to put a code on here so you can just snap it with your phone. So, but definitely, if you need funding, please reach out to Peter. We'll get to your questions. You can reach out to Brian Hamill, acquisitionhelp.com. Watch out for his stuff. If you need to learn about the FAR, CPARs, he's deep into that stuff. All that kind of stuff I can't stand because it's paperwork. Join me today at 1 p.m. You can find that on www.govbrief.us. And now I'm going to, there you go, Femi, right there. Sam.gov tutorial is today. Is that the end of my, I need to check to see if something. I think that's about it. And I'm also going to ask one more poll because I need to know if you guys need some professional help, and specifically from these characters that are here today and some of the people that decided to go to the Netherlands. Actually, he doesn't really do a whole lot of that anymore. He doesn't do a lot of, let's see if this is right. Oh, that's not right. I don't have the right answer for this one. Don't answer those. Let us know if you need to talk to, just reach out to Peter. He'll help you. Peter will call you. If you were here, we'll do a quick recap. All right, guys, I apologize for the weirdness. And thanks for getting me through this, Peter and Rafa.
Okay.
My pleasure. Thanks.
My pleasure always, Dave.
Appreciate you guys, and I'll see you. I'll get you your link for one if you're going to join me.
Yep. Yep. Awesome. Send it to me. Yep.
Awesome, man. Thanks, guys. Appreciate everybody for joining us.